Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right guys, I'm back and it is September 10th. Well, no, actually, it's September 11th now. I started out on September 10th and well, as some of you know, I recorded, well, you've probably seen the one that I already uploaded, and that was an hour video, and I did a second video after that, both of which had no sound. So at this point, I've been talking for 2 hours straight, and it's now 1:16 in the morning, but I did not do a video last night, so I figured I must push on and get a video out tonight for you guys. Also, the fact that there is so much news happening right now, and I've already got stuff to catch up on, like Coup. So, and I'm expecting tomorrow to be a big news day. Now, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but that's what I'm thinking. So I figured I better push through and get at least one of these videos done tonight. So I may look kind of rough, but we're going to get through this together. All right. So I do have the following people that I'd like to thank. They donated via coffee: Christine McGowan, Julie, and Juanita. She's pledging a monthly amount, and I do thank so many people have switched over from Patreon, and I'm very thankful for that, because Coffee does not take any money from creators. The creators pay is a very small fee to use the service, but all of that money, every single penny, goes to the creator, whereas Patreon does hold some back. And also, they are supporting Black Lives Matter, which is a concern to many, including myself. So I am keeping the Patreon, so if you don't want to change over to Coffee, that is perfectly fine. But yeah, it's there for any of you that want to. So thank you, Juanita, for the monthly pledge. And Coffee supporter, thank you for your donation. Sagan's Run Ranch pledged a monthly amount, and I know that they have switched from Patreon. And also Crystal Master has pledged a monthly amount. So thank you guys so very much. And snail mail, I received a lovely, lovely letter and donation from Brenda Z in Colorado. So I enjoyed that, and thank you guys so much. You encourage me so much too with your comments, and I know so many of you pray for the channel. I appreciate that more than anything. So thank you guys, and let's jump into the news. I'm going to try and not dilly-dally and try to pack in as much as I can into one. I don't think I'll be able to pack in 2 hours of video into 1 hour, but I'm going to do my very, very best. All right. And whatever I don't get to tonight, I will bring you tomorrow. So I don't know. It'll be at least 2 videos tomorrow. All right. So let's click on this and begin. Okay. Now, I thought this was very well stated. This is from One America News Network, and I think her name is Chanel Ryan, I believe. I could be wrong, but I know I do really, really like her, and what she has to say here is very much worth listening to. So I'm going to make it bigger for my tiny phone people and play it in its entirety, 2 minutes and 14 seconds. So let's go here. Here we go.
We have in America, I mean, you've heard of George Soros, and he is this philanthropic billionaire who goes in and he affects our political landscape by donating hundreds of thousands of dollars to small campaigns, to the judicial system, to nonprofits around the world, all to push a very globalist agenda. He wants to push away borders. He wants to have mass vaccinations. He wants to have those things, and he's making that happen with his money, and he is indeed very wealthy. We have another phenomenon. You have Jeff Bezos from Amazon taking over Washington Post. He's a billionaire. He's got ideas about how the world should operate, and his reporters act accordingly to keep their jobs. You have The Atlantic just this week pushing out a patently false story, totally made up, fiction factory galore. They made up a quote from the president that no one was able to step up and say he said that, they were exposed for the frauds that they have become, which is unfortunate because Lauren Powell Jobs, the widow for Steve Jobs, she inherited $20 billion, and she has now taken that $20 billion and she's decided that she's going to change and dictate the way that America lives through her own philanthropic efforts through the media. She purchased The Atlantic, she brought in her own editors, she brought in her own pet writers, and they fulfill her personal mission. That's a problem when it's veiled as real journalism, when it's veiled as fact. So we have this crisis where you do have a handful of very, very rich individuals, very powerful individuals who do pull the strings in society. It's not a conspiracy theory. All you have to do is follow the money, and you will find that they all lead to some very few pedestals in the world. And it's we are in a spiritual battle, but we're also in a battle of taking down the establishment that hides these sources of money and power.
Very well spoken, and I just thought that that was worth hearing. Very much truth, and let's go on from there. I think it kind of speaks for itself, and let's take a look at this picture. Now, I've enlarged it for you tiny phone people so that you're able to see this, but this is the crowd of Trump supporters in North Carolina, and as you can see, that crowd is massive, massive. So how they can possibly say that Joe Biden is ahead in the polls is beyond me, because we all know that that is not the case. So anyway, I wanted to show you that. And let's move on. Don't want to take too long on any one thing because I have a lot to get through. All right, and let's look at this. This is by Toby Rogers, PhD, MPP. AstraZeneca needs to immediately disclose exactly what is going on with their coronavirus vaccine trial. We're getting word that the unexpected adverse reaction in a participant is a female hospitalized with transverse myelitis that includes loss of use of her hands and feet. Yeah, that's a mighty big unexpected adverse reaction. So let's move down here. The New York Times confirms that transverse myelitis is the unexpected adverse reaction. A volunteer in the UK trial has been found to have transverse myelitis, an inflammatory syndrome that affects the spinal cord and is often sparked by viral infections. If transverse myelitis is indeed the adverse reaction, then AstraZeneca lied to Stat News when they claimed that the pause is a routine action and that the participant is expected to recover. Nothing routine about this, and they simply do not know if the patient will recover. And here it says AstraZeneca's vaccine relies on chimpanzee adenovirus that has been modified to carry coronavirus genes into human cells. Adenovirus can trigger their own immune responses, which could harm the patient without generating the intended form of protection. So, and it says the Australian government also already agreed to spend $1.7 billion to buy 30 million doses of this junk science vaccine that can leave people permanently paralyzed. In case you're wondering what could go wrong, they were threatening to mandate it too. Yeah, they were threatening that, everybody's going to have to take this. What could go wrong? Well, I guess what has already gone wrong is more like it. So now, let's leave that for a second, and I just want to mention to you, I don't have a news article for this, but I'm going to try and find one because I did see it and read it, but I just didn't connect it in my head until recently, and actually it was the last time I was doing a video and talking about this particular thing. This just jumped into my head. I thought, that's odd, because there is a form of, and I can't remember what it's called, but it is an inflammatory type disease, and it's striking children in Florida. Now, that is the only state that has reported this so far, but the pictures of the children are horrible. Their limbs are all swollen up and red and scaly, and this is some form of inflammation that is striking these kids, and they're claiming that, well, these kids had coronavirus and this is an unexpected, side to that. Well, I don't believe them. And you know why I don't believe them? Because what was just released in Florida recently? What could that be? Oh, I think that was all those hundreds of thousands of genetically modified mosquitoes. Do you think that might be the cause? No. I know. They'll deny it. They'll say, oh, it's just an outcome of coronavirus and these children are getting this because they had coronavirus, even though the parents say, no, they never had it. They didn't have any symptoms of coronavirus, but, they're saying, oh, well, they must have had it, but just didn't have any symptoms. Right. Gee, it couldn't have anything to do with all those genetically modified mosquitoes, could it? Yeah. Well, it was Bill Gates involved in that. And what is Bill Gates known? He's a eugenicist. He wants people to die. Lots and lots of people. So just thought I'd mention that. I haven't seen anybody make that connection yet, but I have. And I think that, no, it's not proof, but it's mighty suspicious that they just released these mosquitoes and all of a sudden children are coming down with this strange disease, inflammatory disease. All right, well, let's go on from there and let me see. See, it's hard for me to tell what I've covered and what I haven't now because it's all purple. So, this is the next one. All right. I'm getting tired, so. All right, report. CDC caught bankrolling Democrats. No, tell me it's not so. Now, this is from July 20th, but I have not seen this previously. And I don't know, but I think it's kind of pertinent. A report issued by the Federal Election Commission reveals that left-leaning progressives at the CDC have been bankrolling Democratic and even progressive-leaning candidates for the past 15 years. Why isn't this all over the news? Well, we know they're not gonna. The news is owned by the Democratic Party, so you think they're gonna report against themselves? Never. Starting in 2005, at least 550 CDC employees donated more than $285,000 to the Democratic Party and their candidates. Now, they've been caught. The deep roots of the liberal bias they used to sabotage President Donald Trump have been exposed. According to the FEC, the number one recipient for the donations was Act Blue. Where have we heard that before? Yeah, that's the Democratic Party's online fundraising platform. CDC employees shelled out heavily for Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign, Bernie Sanders' 2020 presidential campaign, Elizabeth Warren's 2020 presidential campaign, and the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. The Center for Disease Control has been stacking the deck against Trump since the moment he entered the political scene. Republicans didn't get much support from within the CDC. Only 5 pitiful employee contributions were sent to a Republican Political Action Committee or candidate. Out of those, 3 of the 5 contributions were made to President Donald Trump's 2016 campaign. They totaled just over $1,000 compared with the flood of money that was funneled to progressive candidates in March when the World Health Organization declared the Wuhan coronavirus a pandemic. The total amount of money employees contributed to the left-leaning causes by the end of March reporting period was nearly 3 times higher than the previous 5-year average. Not only that, the total number of contributions more than doubled compared to the previous 5-year monthly average. It's no wonder that CDC officials won't listen to a single thing that President Trump has to say, even if he is in charge. President Trump has kept an open mind and accepted guidance from the disease experts as appropriate, especially early in the outbreak. Now that we know the CDC relied on flawed data and also that the coronavirus is here to stay, it's time to shift the strategy. Instead of hunkering down and trying to stuff the genie back into the bottle, it's time to accept the inevitable and get back to work. Liberals at the CDC who do the bidding of George Soros and the globalist powers that want to prevent that at any cost, they know that a strong economy is the biggest weapon that President Trump can use against them. And they've done everything in their power to destroy it. So, I think that was definitely worth highlighting. Now, let's go back and continue on. And this, breaking 911, Twitter says it will label or remove unverified election result claims and will flag Trump if he claims early victory. Now, why is that? Well, I'll tell you why that is. That is the narrative that they're going with. And this was part of the second video, but it fits in perfectly right here. So let me find it, and we're going to take a look at it now because it fits exactly in with that Breaking 911 title. Exposed. The Democrats are right now planning a coup for the November election. Yes, they are, and they've already started the narratives. You've seen them, and so have I. The narrative is Trump's not going to leave the White House willingly. He's gonna have to be assisted out with the military, and that also that Trump, it may appear on election night that Trump won, but then all the false ballots will come in, and of course, Biden will win then. So that is the narrative they're going with. So let's look at this because it's very interesting and very telling. Now, this is from the 8th, 2 days ago, but it's still fresh. I've kept it in the fridge with saran wrap on it. All right. And after everything they have done since the day of Donald Trump's inauguration, Democrats and their radical leftist billionaire masters are now brazenly talking about staging an election coup right out in the open. You may have missed it. What with the riots, lockdowns, and other daily chaos and havoc we're forced to put up with in this armpit of the calendar year. Nevertheless, it's really happening, folks, and you need to be prepared for it. This is not hyperbole. This is a warning bell. If you thought an administration spying on the campaign of the opposing party was bad, you haven't seen anything yet. I'm sure you've heard about all the things I'm about to say, but I doubt most of you have had the forethought of putting them together to see a bigger picture. That's my job because you're too busy working and raising a family. You may have read that there were a bunch of military brass, most of which are war-loving rhinos angry with President Trump because he's not into endless wars, who put the word out that if the troops should not follow a presidential order. Many former generals, and including that real disappointment, General James Mattis, who served as Trump's first Secretary of Defense, who publicly and brazenly said what the brass didn't come out and say. Remember when Mattis trash talked to the commander-in-chief? You'll find out why in a bit. Remember when, back in June, the riots were starting to grow and the sitting Secretary of Defense publicly told President Trump not to invoke the Insurrection Act? He literally said, "Mr. President, don't tell us to do that because we won't." And you know what happened after that? How this man still has his post is beyond all logic. Then the talk began, with zero evidence to back it up, that Trump would not leave office if he lost the election. Joe Biden said the military will escort Trump from the White House with great dispatch. Al Gore, the global warming monster, concurred. Folks, this is all done to prepare you for the coming coup attempt for when Trump beats Biden on November 3rd. So is there a real coup being planned as we speak? Well, I believe there is. A story was intentionally leaked over the summer about a meeting which consisted of 100 Democrat high rankers, never Trump rhino Republicans, and other ruling class community organizers met to play a sort of war games exercise of different outcomes of the November 3rd election. One of the scenarios was that Donald Trump definitively wins. John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign manager who loves to email stuff, said that Biden should refuse to concede and should pressure states that Trump won to only send Democrats to the Electoral College vote, and the Democrats would rely on the military to handle the rest. Don't think that's too far-fetched, because in 2016, the Democrats and Hollywood leftists started a campaign by reaching out to Republican electors and trying to convince them to cast their vote for Clinton. The left has gotten way more radical since then. This is the stuff of a banana republic. Seriously, a leaked report from this war games exercise determined that technocratic solutions, courts, and reliance on elites observing norms are not the answer here. It goes on to guarantee what would follow Election Day if Trump wins will be a street fight, not a legal battle. In other words, folks, they're saying they will increase the riots everywhere across the country. They're not going to waste time with democratic principles in our Constitution or legal system. We have people, powerful people, who are going to build an army of malcontents to trash the country. That's sedition, and it's against the law. And that's not all. Over the summer, two former Army officers, both prominent national security think tank guys, wrote an open letter to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, imploring him to send the 82nd Airborne Division to the White House and drag President Trump from the Oval Office at exactly 12:01 p.m., January 20th, 2021. That's treason, and it's punishable by death. It's pretty bad when two Army officers write such an incendiary and asinine letter, because it exposes their own hatred for Americans and their ignorance of the military command structure and their officers. While the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff outrank all commissioned officers, the chairman is prohibited by law from having operational command authority over the armed forces. So, these two clowns asked the Joint Chiefs of Staff to break military law and receive a court-martial for it, all because they suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. Well, that was my cat. Hillary Clinton then went online. Talk about a whining, sniveling malcontent. Hillary's definitely the queen. Then went online and said that Joe Biden should not concede the election under any circumstances. This being the same woman who still does not accept that Trump beat her in 2016. The Democrats as a whole would not be talking this way if they were confident their dementia-laden candidate will win. Remember that the first rule of a conspiracy theory is that you do not talk about the conspiracy theory, and the second rule of a conspiracy theory is that you do not talk about the conspiracy theory. So then, why are they openly talking about their conspiracy? Because they are diabolically preparing a conspiracy to steal the election, while at the same time they are blaming Donald Trump. When these people say Trump will not leave office if he loses, they are saying that to plant the seed in the minds of Americans so that when they steal the election and Trump argues against the theft, they will have the confidence of the American people, or enough of them at least, to not go ape doo-doo when they forcibly rip Trump out of the White House. These conspirators are telling us now that they expect what they expect. These conspirators are telling us now that they expect on election night that reports will come in that Trump won by a significant margin. A letter was sent to news networks warning them not to call a winner on election night, and that's because the election is when the final phase of the cheating begins. There are specific states Trump must win in order to be reelected, and in all likelihood he's going to win them by a razor-thin margin. Those are the states the Democrats will target. They have already legitimized in people's mind that because of COVID, people have to do mail-in voting, and that there will be too many mail-in ballots to count on election night. They're talking days, if not weeks. Mail-in voting is the scam. They will count the votes of each state, then pick one state that Trump must win and has a razor-thin margin. They will determine how many votes Biden lost by and manufacture ballots out of thin air for Biden, and then suddenly and magically they will claim they found the exact amount of missing mail-in ballots that miraculously all go to Joe Biden. The Democrats will declare Biden won the state and will argue against checking those magically found ballots. The media will support the call for a Biden win, and then they send in the troops to take Trump out. What the Democrats and their rhino partners are planning to do is ratchet up the riots in cities around the country. It will look nothing like we've already lived through this summer. It will be 10 times worse, with every street and every city loaded with people screaming the same thing: Trump has to go. This is what the left does. They engineer a scenario with the goal of making you believe you're the odd one out if you don't agree with the common argument. They want to make the message that Trump must go so embedded in your head that you will agree with them. Once they measure the public's pulse and get a feel that most are with them, that's when they send in the troops to physically take Trump out. George Soros is funding this, I have no doubt, and he is known for creating what's known as color revolutions around the world. It's the same type of thing our CIA has run into in other countries, where you throw out a legitimate leader via nonstop violence and turmoil, then call it democracy. Readers, this is not make-believe. It's really happening, and it's happening right now under our noses. They are right now setting up the circumstances that will allow them to steal the election to put Biden in office. And chances are they would succeed. However, I do not believe that any of this is taking Trump by surprise. Not any of it. I think he knows precisely what they're doing and what they're planning. Now, I have hope. This person is not expressing that hope, but I will, because I do believe that Trump is always 10 steps ahead of the very best of their thinkers. So I do believe that Trump has something up his sleeve as maybe an October surprise, if you will. Now, I believe that it's going to be a humdinger. That's what I believe. I firmly believe that. And when Q says, you know, it's all under control, nothing can stop this. Well, I think we have to believe that for now, unless we see something happen in November like this. And then I think the country is in big trouble. But let's not rule out Trump yet, because I think that he's a very smart guy. He's great at 3D chess. And I think that he's not only got an October surprise, I'm betting there's a September surprise as well. That's what I believe anyway. And I'm going to stick to that until I know I'm wrong. So there you go. Don't lose heart. This is what they have planned, but I have to believe that Trump is ahead of them somehow, some way. All right. So let's go back now, and we will go back up here. I just thought that that would fit in great right there. So let's go on to this. And yeah, this is interesting. I think you'll enjoy it. I'm going to make it bigger for my tiny phone people because I can't forget about them. And yeah, take a listen.
To compare my cognitive capability to the cognitive capability of the man I'm running against. We gotta, it's just, but you gotta, I mean, we gotta reassure, look, play the radio, make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone, make sure the kids hear words. COVID has taken this year,
the kids hear words.
Just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives, when you think about it, the words of a president matter.
We cannot get reelected. We cannot win this reelection. We can only reelect Donald Trump.
No matter how competent or incompetent the president is, they can send a nation to war, they can bring peace, they can make markets rise or fall. I'm going to beat Joe Biden. You know, the rapidly rising I don't know, Mr. President, wake up. My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other guy. Give me a look, though, okay? All men and women created by the you know the thing. I just can't figure the guy. It's like this. I don't know. It's like watching a yo-yo. I shouldn't have said it that way. It's like watching.
It feels that way. I want to
Awkward. All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right. It's Chris, but anyway.
Chris. I just did Chris. No, I just did Chuck. Why doesn't he just act like a president? That's a stupid way to say it.
You know, Donald Trump was asked us.
Awkward.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I probably best I don't.
Just don't tell anybody I told you this. Especially don't tell Joe Biden. I don't think that there should be any debates.
Gee, I wonder why. Can't imagine why she would think that there shouldn't be any debates. Yeah, could you imagine those two debating? Really? I mean, I would pay to see that. No, really, I would. In fact, I think I would pay a lot to see that. Wouldn't you? I think it would be very entertaining, but it would also be incredibly cruel for Joe Biden. Because Trump, I mean, really, the best of the best can't even beat him in an argument or a debate. So how do you think Biden would fare? Well, I think we know that, the answer to that. All right, now, let's go back. No, really? Let's. Now, this, I put important on this, but Twitter has already taken it down, so there's no sense in us going there because it's not there any longer. Because Twitter thinks that it has the right to determine what President Trump can say and what he can't. Yeah, imagine the nerve. The highest position in the land, and Twitter treats him like dirt. No, I think they treat dirt far better. All right, now let's look at this because, quite frankly, this is terrifying. Quebec City says it will isolate uncooperative citizens in secret corona facility. Yeah. Authorities in Quebec City, Canada have announced they will isolate uncooperative citizens in a coronavirus facility, the location of which remains a secret. Why does it have to be a secret location? I'm just asking. During a press conference, Dr. Jacques Girard, who heads the Quebec City Public Health Authority, drew attention to a case where patrons at a bar were ordered to wait until their COVID-19 test came back, but disregarded the command and left the premises before the results came back positive. This led them to being deemed uncooperative and forcibly interned in a quarantine facility. Yeah. We may isolate someone for 14 days, Girard said during the press conference, and it is what we did this morning, forced a person to cooperate with the investigation, and police cooperation was exceptional. The health official then outlined how the state is also tracking down people for violating their home quarantine and forcibly removing them to the secret facility. Because we have had people isolated at home and then we saw the person was not at home. So we went to their home and we told them, we are isolating you and we are isolating you where we want you to be, said Girard. 6 other Quebec City bars known to have been frequented by Kirouac regulars are now being examined by public health officials, reports the Rare Foundation. It should be noted that it's not being claimed that anyone is actually sick from coronavirus. But the state has the power to force a citizen into isolation anyway. As we previously highlighted, the government of New Zealand announced similar measures, saying that they will put all new coronavirus infectees and their close family members in quarantine facilities. Well, isn't that totalitarian of them? Yeah. And just so you know, now, this is from someone I know personally, so I know it's the truth. They went into a store without a mask on. They were approached by the people in the store. They told the people in the store that they had an exception and did not have to wear a mask, so they called the police. And the police questioned this person and wanted all their information so that they could track it, and the person said, no, I haven't committed a crime. If you can tell me I committed a crime, tell me what the crime is. But of course, there's no laws that say you have to wear a mask. They're just enforcing this and making you think that it's against the law not to wear one. And that's what they do. They call the police on you. Yeah, like we have so many police, we can just, don't concentrate on crime. Concentrate on these people not wearing masks. Right. All right. Now, let's go back and look at this. This by Charlie Kirk. He says, wow, the DOJ is now saying Robert Mueller's team accidentally wiped 15 of their phones after the DOJ Inspector General asked for their devices to be handed over. So, Robert Mueller's team, they had 15 of their phones, obviously had information on it. The DOJ Inspector General asked that they hand their devices over, but they wiped them clean beforehand. Why won't Adam Schiff look into this? What were they covering up? I thought no one was above the law. Well, we know that's not true. Of course the Democrats are above the law. Of course they are. Yeah. All right. Now, here is, I think I'm going to wait for this. There's another huge fire in the Beirut, the same area, the same port that was hit before. It now has a massive fire, but we are short on time, so I'm going to skip that for now. And let's go to this. Yeah, okay. Here is a blaring example of what the media does and why we can't trust them. So, here, before, literally everyone is wearing a mask in the picture. So let's look at this. Now, this from The Hill. Just in, Trump supporters gathered without masks in North Carolina despite requests from local GOP official. So that's the story that they're running with, right? Well, there's a problem with that because this is the picture they included. And, well, from what I can see, everybody in that picture is wearing a mask. Oh, we can't have that, can we? Because that would show, the picture shows that The Hill is lying. So this is what they changed the picture to. Yeah. Trump supporters gathered without masks in North Carolina despite requests from local GOP official. And then they show a close-up picture of Donald Trump so that no one can see the crowd and can actually see for themselves that everyone is wearing a mask. Yeah, that's how they operate. That's exactly how they operate. And you know what? People are already believing that and running with that narrative, even though it is blatantly false. That's how the media, and that's how they work, and that's why nobody can trust them anymore, and that's why Donald Trump calls them the enemy of the people. Why? Because they are. They are the enemy of the people. So, let's go on, and let's, let me see here. I'm going to, now I'm sure you probably all know, and I'm skipping a few things just for the sake of time because I can't do two separate videos this late at night. It's now almost 2 o'clock in the morning. So anyway, Trump has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize and by a Norwegian official, and I sincerely hope and pray he gets it, but we know how crooked the Nobel Peace Prize is because they awarded one to Obama, who is the least peaceful of anyone I've ever known. I mean, look at everything that he's responsible for, and he got the Peace Prize for what? Yeah, so it's wonderful that he's nominated, and I really, really hope and pray he gets it. He deserves it. He definitely deserves it, but deserving something and getting it are two different things in this world today. And I want to just quickly touch on this. Nick Sandman, ACLU employee publicizes where, hang on here, the Covington teen Nick Sandman is attending college and calls him dangerous. Why is he dangerous? What did he do? Wear a Trump hat? That somehow makes him dangerous? Apparently, according to this ACLU employee. And so they publicize where he's going to school now. An American Civil Liberties Union staff member alerted the public to which university Covington Catholic graduate Nick Sandman is attending as an incoming freshman, suggesting that the college should have barred the young conservative's admission. Why? What has he done? I guess he's got an American flag pin and a Trump hat, so that makes him dangerous. My gosh, he loves America. He must be dangerous. An American Civil Liberties Union staff member alerted the public to which university Nick Sandman is attending as an incoming freshman, suggesting the college should have barred the young conservative's admission. Samuel Crankshaw, a communications associate at the ACLU's Kentucky arm, targeted Transylvania University for admitting the first-year student and expressed outrage that the liberal school would accept an undergraduate with opposing views held by approximately half the country. Well, I don't think half the country have those views. I don't think anywhere near half the country has the opposing views. I think that most of the country would agree with Nick Sandman. And most of the country is for Trump and for conservative values and against what we're seeing in these riots and looting and arson and everything else. Lawlessness, complete lawlessness. So that's what I believe. Now, let's go back and mosey on down to here. Well, actually, no, let's hit on this first because I can't remember what it is. Yeah, I love this, and everybody needs to see this regardless. Now, maybe you've seen this already, and if so, great, but for those of you that haven't, watch and listen.
Better than the arenas, I have to say. Especially when you have a crowd like this. But they're like this. They have such spirit in this country. People love our country so much. I went to Texas. I went to Ohio. I went to Florida. It's always like this. They love our country. And we're not going to disappoint anybody. We're not disappointed. For years, you had a president who apologized for America.
Look at the smile on his face. Yeah.
This is better than the arena.
So now his smile just erupted when he realized what they were saying. We love you. When have you ever heard that for a president? Ever? I don't think we ever have. Not in my lifetime anyway. And certainly not for any other politician. So there you go. I just thought that was awesome. And if you haven't seen it, I thought you needed to. So there you go. And now let's go back and let's look at this. Excuse me. Biden today in Michigan, over 6,000 military members have died of COVID-19. The correct number is actually 7. Close enough for a Democrat. We know if Joe Biden's mouth is open and moving, he's lying. So we shouldn't be surprised at that. 6,000. And really, there's only like around 10,000 people that actually died just of COVID. The others had serious comorbidities that made them more susceptible. So, yeah. All right. Now, we're going to look at this. And I know I hate to do this to you, but we're going to listen to Pelosi. I don't like it any more than you do. But, yeah. Pelosi, something is wrong with Trump. His family should do an intervention. Okay. So let's listen to her. And her eyebrows are as strange as ever. And let me tell you, watch her demeanor and her actions. She looks very nervous. I think they're very frightened about what's coming. That's what I think. And also, her eyebrows are just getting ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. I mean, literally, they're almost up to her hairline. And she draws them all the way down past her eyes. I don't know. I just had to mention it. So let's listen.
No, you can. Well, let me ask you again about the Bob Woodward book, because there are larger issues about the president's leadership, and these are relevant today as always because they are his role as commander-in-chief. Bob Woodward quotes former Defense Secretary James Mattis as saying to Dan Coates, the former head of National Intelligence, and then Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, that he had prayed at the National Cathedral because of what he felt were the president's incapacity to lead as commander-in-chief, and said that there may be a time when we'll have to take collective action and all resign. So there were early concerns back in 2017, even with the first Secretary of State, about the president's capacity by Jim Mattis and by Dan Coates, as quoted in this book.
That's very interesting, especially in light of the fact that the Republicans in Congress do nothing to temper the bad policy that springs from that person. You would think that the family or the Republicans would have some kind of intervention. Clearly, the behavior of the president is not on the level. But the fact is, I'm very pleased that AstraZeneca has stopped their trial because they saw a problem and that needs to be investigated. I'm so proud that the pharmaceutical companies have said they won't market or promote.
Look at her eyebrows. I'm sorry. I know this isn't about her eyebrows, but okay, I'm making it about her eyebrows because it's my show. So look at, she draws them way down here. Who does that? And look, I mean, if she has one more brow lift, they're going to be up to her hairline. Okay, now we'll go on. Okay, I'll shut up now. And also, look at these little spaceships on her ears. I know they're not spaceships, but they look like them. All right, here we go.
A vaccine unless it is properly approved by the independent scientific advisory committee set up for such a thing. I'm glad they're saying that because I have concerns about what the president might want to do to the timing and politicizing of the research that is there. So when we talk about his incapacity and whatever his mental state is, we have to be careful about how that impacts the health and well-being of the American people. And I feel very sad that the Republicans in Congress, and I don't paint everybody with the